Hello again, guys. Welcome back to Charlie's House Call Auto Repair. Today we're going to be working on a 2017 Subaru WRX. We're going to be doing back brakes, and assumably we're also going to be doing the parking brake. So this is going to be a bonus. We're taking a little bit of a break from that mess at the moment. What we're going to be doing today is these back brakes. As you can see in there, they've gone a little bit metal to metal, and the owner says that he thinks one of his brake pads fell out. So let's see what happened over here. Let's see, we got a little metal to metal, and there's no brake pad in there. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Getting ready to do our code scan, show you guys what kind of health this thing's in. Let's get in here, pick Subaru. Where are you? Right there. Area select. North America. WRX. VIN is correct. We're going to do a full health report. Alright, we're going to save the report. Wow, we got a lot of stuff in here. A lot of stuff. Save. $81,447 miles. Although for whatever reason the odometer shows 94,263 miles. I have to look into why there's that much of a discrepancy. Reference code incompatible immobilizer. Startability malfunction. Steering angle sensor. Tire pressure on all 4 tires. Speed abnormal. That's probably a wheel speed sensor. Battery control power supply. Battery backup power supply. Lost communications. Sun load sensor. Vehicle dynamic control. Power supply. Okay, so we've had probably some battery interruptions. First things first, crack loose all your lug nuts. That way there you can get them off when the vehicle is off the ground. Let's get that brake fluid checked. Looking a little nasty. Alright. I don't know if I can suck that out of there or not. So let's see if I can get a hose and a turkey baster down in here and maybe suck some of that yuck out of there so we don't pump it down into the new calipers. I'm going to start off with a little tool creation. I'm going to take an empty bottle and I'm going to drill 2 holes in the top of this cap. Think that drill's dull? And let's see, one on the other side. Alright, and they almost fall over. And let's clean those up. And we're going to be sticking some little rubber adapters down in here so we can use our vacuum pump to suck the old fluid out of the master cylinder. Now with our new handy dandy created recovery container, we can go ahead now and suck this old fluid out of here. Hose and stuff it right down there in the bottom. Stand this up because we don't want to get any of this inside the suction pump. Serious kinks in that hot fire there. Alright. There goes your the brake fluid. This should be working. I've got vacuum. We got just too many kinks, I guess. Alright, so what's going wrong here? What am I doing wrong? I'm doing something wrong because this is not working. We have vacuum. Ah, there we go. That makes a big difference. Uh-oh, I have a hole in one of my hoses. Definitely need to clean up those holes. Alrighty. Rotors, brake pads, brake shoes, brake cleaner, 2 bracketed calipers, and some new brake fluid. Well, I think in one of my last videos this thing sounded kind of nasty, but we cleaned it up, took it apart, put some fresh lithium grease in it. Nice and quiet now. Tire underneath the car for safety, additional safety, just in case. Put all the lug nuts here as well so we hopefully don't lose any of them. Now before tearing this all apart, I wanted to get you guys down in here for an angle at this. The boot's popped off the pin. We are fully extended on the pin right here. And a humongous gap right here. So yeah, just wanted you guys to see that before we started pulling all this apart. Now, because we've already drained all the fluid. What the heck, is this stuck now? Oh well. The fluid in the reservoir is all brand new. We don't want to go pushing any of this yucky crap up in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen the bleed screw up before pressing this. I want to make sure that none of this old crappy stuff goes up into the reservoir. So take the little rubber cover off. Don't lose these. Your new caliper may not have them. If it does, good. If it doesn't, well, you've got one to put on it. Save them just in case for future brake jobs. Now we're going to break this loose. And like I say, everything is a hammer. We're going to use the shank of the wrench to loosen this up a little bit. Just trying to pry on it, you'll often break them, so impact seems to help the most. So what we're going to do now is put this hose on, and now we're going to crack that bleeder open. I'm going to grab a pair of line pliers. In this case, my line pliers, needle nose pliers with some rubber hose over the ends to protect the line from being damaged. We're only going to put enough pressure on the line just to close the line, but not actually damage it, squeeze it. And now we're going to go ahead and press that back, and we should see the fluid come up through the line right here. If we didn't, then that isn't sealed off well enough. There we go. So we can get some piston movement nice and easy. Calipers moving nice and easy. Was probably jammed up against the hardware because everything fell apart. All right, we'll go ahead and close that back up now. Take the line back off. And get the rest down into the bottle. We'll set that aside for now. Now we got 13 millimeter on the caliper bracket slide bolts. That one was nice and loose. The owner said that he did do the brakes in this not that long ago. Nice clean bolts. Set those aside. Lift the caliper up and off. Piston is virtually all the way out. And a little bit of chewing in the top of the caliper here, but nothing all too bad. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Caliper bracket is 14 millimeter. Get this other brake pad out of here maybe. No, it doesn't want to come out. Need a screwdriver. Oh, very unevenly worn. Metal to metal. That's kind of interesting. Outboard's completely missing. Now let's get that caliper bracket loosened up. Those are 14 millimeter. Don't take it all the way out because you need to loosen up the top one too. Okay, now that you've got those both loose, you can take them all the way out. I think this is the first time I've ever taken both caliper bracket bolts out and the caliper bracket didn't fall off. Kind of curious as to why. Well, there's the caliper bracket. The pin fell out. The hardware clips are still in it. There's virtually no damage to the caliper bracket. There's a little impact of some sort here, maybe anti-seize. No, that's just something's been rubbing right there. Don't know what. Alright. Normally I would take the caliper, hang it up on the springs, but we got places back here to set it on. Let's get this here. Oh, okay, well that wasn't what I expected. What I expected is to have to fight with them, because you usually do. You got two holes right, 6mm by 1.5 thread pitch. You can put 2 bolts in here to back this out. Normally you also have to pop this piece out here to get to the adjuster to back the brakes off. These are not self-adjusting brakes. I've already seen a video where somebody claimed that they were, and they are not self-adjusting brakes. These have to be properly adjusted and calibrated. The owner is going to be very happy to be informed that he does not need to touch his parking brake cable or his parking brakes. These parking brakes are in really good shape. See, this one here also is good. Now keep in mind, these are parking brake. Parking brake shoes are a lot thinner material than regular drum brakes. These are in perfect shape. Springs are good, they're free of rust, the clips are in place, the adjuster's in place. That's this right here. There is no self-adjuster on it, it's just a little spring that holds it in place. So we're going to just clean this up and put the new rotor on. Alright, I've inspected the other side as well. I've talked to the owner of the vehicle, and being that both of the pistons were able to be pressed back without any problems, there are no leaks, there's no serious damage to the caliper. Even though it did actually make contact with the rotor, it's still smooth. In my personal judgment, I believe that this caliper is perfectly okay to reuse, so we're not going to be replacing the calipers. We are not going to be replacing the parking brake, because the brake is not worn and all of the hardware is new. It was all recently done a couple of years ago. This is in otherwise actually pretty good shape, so we're going to fluid film this area here, clean up the hub, put the new rotor on, put the new brake pads in, and well, sorry you guys didn't get to see the parking brake, but it's in perfect shape, so there's no sense in disturbing it. So let's get this caliper mounted, get the rotor on, and finish up this brake job. Now let's get this hub cleaned up. Get everything in here fluid filmed, but everything but the parking brakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this cloth and stuff it down behind, fold it over a little bit and then stuff it behind, and then you can flip it back up, cover up the brake shoes. And what we're going to do now is we're going to fluid film the surface of the spindle as well as the backing plate, so that we can inhibit rust. Also make sure you clean up the ears that the caliper bracket goes on, because you can give those a little spritz also. And then make sure you get the bottom also. The fluid film will soak into any of the rust that's already started to develop, and it'll slow it down so that your backing plates don't disintegrate on you. Now we go ahead and get the rotor cleaned up and get the rotor put on. Take brake cleaner, spray it on the cloth, and go ahead and wipe down your rotor. Oil on it that prevents it from rusting while it's sitting on the shelf at the warehouse and the auto parts store. Rub that oil off of there. You got to do the same thing on the back side as well as in the inside for where your parking brake shoes will be riding. Now we fluid filmed the spindle, so all we got to do now is just rinse this down. Oops, wrong one. Rinse this down and we can go ahead and put it on. Let this dry for a couple of seconds here. Now we're adjusters down here on the bottom, and it's between the holes, so we'll turn that so that it's centered so we can get to the adjuster nice and easy. And we'll go ahead and put the rotor on. And using an old axle nut and one of the lug nuts, what we're going to do is we're going to put this on just to hold the rotor in place so nothing moves around. And go in here. We do have a brake spoon, which is what this is. This is a brake spoon. Go in here, find that little adjuster. Sometimes it's easiest to rotate and figure out what it butts up against right there. And I will go adjust it till it's snug. That's starting to snug right there. And we're going to back it off about 5 full clicks. We're catching right there, so still got to back that off some more. That wrong way. Alright, a little bit of light rub in there. I'll back that off just a hair bit more just to play it safe. Okay, now we can go ahead, get the caliper bracket ready. Instead of replacing it, we're going to be reconditioning this. So we're going to need to clean all of this up. Pins are in beautiful shape. Clean out this board here. I'm gonna pop all these hardware clips off as well. They're really jacked in there. So you guys can see all of the rust that's built up in here. So we're gonna have to clean all that up. That's where his brake problems are coming from, is the all of this scale that's built up on the caliper bracket. So let's get that cleaned up. We also need to take the rubber plug out of the old caliper, or the old rotor, and we'll put that one into the new one so we don't get contaminants in there from there. Get the old rotor out of the way. The one brake pad. And let's get cleaning up this caliper. This one doesn't, yeah, that one's got the little rubber piece, so I'll leave that one in there for now. And again, the rubber piece is on the leading edge. So let's get that cleaned out. And I'll start off with filling up the bore. Just let that sit, soak for a few seconds. I'll go grab my gun cleaning brush so we can clean that bore out. Alright, got the drill, cleaning brush, right down in here. Put that out onto the rag. Rinse it out. Should look all nice and clean down inside, which it does. Can't see it with the camera, I'm sure, but we'll clean up the outside of these boots as well. Make sure there's no tears in them or anything like that. Same thing with the other side. Okay, now let's get some Siliglide. I only got a little bit of this left at the moment. I go through this stuff like crazy. So let's get this out of the tube. Grab the pin. Cover that up with some new Siliglide grease. The boot. And make sure you got the inside of the boot coated as well as the bore. Grease around the outside of it. This grease around the outside of it does a very good job of helping to keep the boot from drying out. But you got to remember that it has to be non-petroleum grease. Mating surfaces in the bracket need to be cleaned up as well. Now let's get the other side done. Again, pull the pin out, wipe the pin off, the old grease off of it. Again, nice and clean, good condition. Let's get the bore. Dump that onto the cloth. That's all cleaned up. Look down inside, make sure there's nothing left. It's good and clean. Go ahead and put some Siliglide on the pin. Probably way too much, but there. Make sure there's none left in there. Rotate it all the way down and in. Push it all the way down until it bottoms out. See the boot starting to swell a little bit, which is the excessive amount of grease. So you can squeeze off to one side and just let some of that out. we got to get the scaling off of here. Now you can use a file that's specifically made for this, or you could use a common, what they call bastard file, or flat file that you can pick these things up at Walmart or any hardware store. This one here is specifically made for this purpose. It's supposed to fit right down inside. Clean up all of the scaling. You want to make sure that you get all of the scaling off of these. They're all perfectly flat. You can use a sand blaster on these things if you want to, but the idea is you have to get the surfaces on here totally clean, totally smooth, without removing any significant amount of metal. You don't want to remove any metal at all, if at all possible. These are actually in, strangely enough, pretty good shape. You can use abrasive wheels on these if you want. I do quite often, but I will tell you that you've got to be exceptionally careful with this, because an abrasive wheel can take this down a lot faster than you would anticipate, and then that'll make for sloppy brakes. You don't want that happening. But make sure you get in the grooves where the ears of the brake pads ride. Make sure you get them evenly. They're smooth. Everything's cleaned up. A little bit of rust down in there isn't going to hurt anything, but you want them spotless, clean if possible. And then you want to coat where the hardware clips are going to be sitting. You want to coat that with anti-seize or another long-lasting, high heat, moisture resistant coating, paint, whatever. I've used grease in the past, lithium or silicone grease. It works, but it doesn't last. The anti-seize does, however, seem to last a nice long time. Again, all the surfaces that your hardware comes in contact with, because what will end up happening is rust will get underneath it and then it'll push that hardware and clamp it right down on your brake pads on you. This is the most important part of the brake job. If you don't do this well, your brakes will not last, or they will chatter, or they will get stuck. A lot of bad things that can happen if this is not done. You see lots of brake jobs on YouTube where some people do this, some people don't. But I can guarantee you, with the exception of down south, anybody who's exposed to road salt will find their brakes will lock up on them in a short period of time because they get stuck in the caliper bracket. So now the caliper bracket is ready. You can get the hardware and start putting that in. Now, the hardware came with the brake pads. There's our hardware clips. There are 2 for this side, 2 for the other side. Always inspect all 4 pieces, or however many pieces that you have, to figure out what it is that you actually need for your application. Some will come with a variety. Now again, right, left could be different, top to bottom could be different, so we want to make sure that they are all the same, and in this case I believe they are. I don't believe there's any difference from top to bottom, right to left. But we'll put all 4 clips together in the same direction so that we can get an idea of how similar these brake clips really are. These are called abutment clips, and all 4 of these are exactly the same. I don't see any differences on the little ears or little tabs on them. So I got 2 for this side, 2 for the other side. We can go ahead and put those in right now, actually. Just clip those right down in. They should always fit perfectly. If they don't fit perfectly, either you don't have the right ones, you may have taken off too much metal. There's a variety of different reasons why they sometimes won't fit, but they have to fit, and they have to fit correctly. So these are already in. Now we can go ahead and take this bracket, which is already done. We've got the pins done. Back is cleaned up. Let's go ahead and bolt this in place. Just going to set it right there for the moment because we need to clean these bolts up. And I'm going to go grab my blue thread locker. Put a little bit on the edges of the bolts. Okay, got the blue thread locker. We're going to do one drop on each bolt. Like that, just one drop. And one drop. And I'm only putting it on the end of the threads. I'm going to put that right there. Just on the end of the threads because this is where it's going to go in. The knuckle. Go ahead and slide that in and get that bolt started. You run them all the way in by hand if you want to. Go ahead and snug those down once you've got them both finger tight. I like to wiggle everything around until it's seated, just because if things are a little bit out of whack and you go and you tighten down a bolt, you can actually cause things to warp and bend. Go grab my ratchet, tighten these down a little bit. These are probably in the 40 to 50 foot-pound range. Make sure to check your specs if you're not comfortable with your abilities to get them tight, but not too tight. Now we go ahead and take the new brake pads, of which we have 4. Some of them have squealers on them. We'll figure out which ones are which. All 4 out. Okay, we have squealers on 1. I don't understand that one. We've got a squealer on 1 brake pad and 1 brake pad only. So we'll automatically know that the squealer goes inboard. So we're just going to figure out now which side of the vehicle this is going to be for. This is going to be the inboard, and it's going to be on the leading edge, which means it's going to be on the opposite side of the car. So on this side, we're just going to put the brake pads in for feel. And what I mean by in for feel is we want to make sure that there's no binding, they're free to move, they're not getting pinched anywhere. They're up against the springs, and they're riding a little tight on these edges right here. We're going to put a little bit of Siliglide on these ears right here. Just like that, just a little dab, and then take the one edge, stuff it in, the other edge, stuff it in. That just gets the grease onto the clip. And you can go ahead and run your brake pad all the way down in. Same thing on the inside. Little dab on the ear. Little dab on the ear. Put it in the bottom first. Take it back out, put it in the top. That just transfers some of the grease to the clip. Then go ahead and Put your brake pad in. We'll take our caliper, put our caliper back down. And again, blue thread locker for these bolts, 1 drop on each. And 1 drop on each. It's not dry out thread locker. And go ahead and snug those down. Keep in mind that your calipers, bracket and caliper, or your caliper is going to move around kind of easily without the brake pads in there snug. Okay, both of those are tight. Take a little bit of grease, put it in our bleeder cap. That'll help keep the bleeder from getting anything in it and clogging it up or rusting it up. Well, this side's all done. Everything moves nice and easy. We will go ahead and push that brake pedal down in a few minutes. Let's go finish up the other side. It's going. It's almost done. Saving him quite a bit of money on this too.
I was just gonna say, you saved the caliper?
Yep.
Got new pins, or you just cleaned them up?
Well, the bracket's done. The pins are about to get done right now.
Yep,
and they are in beautiful, beautiful shape.
Yeah.
Let's see. We need brake cleaner. We need drill. We need paper towel to absorb the mess.
As long as the pins move, you're good.
Kind of need a battery.
It needs a battery too. I guess you only place them until they die, huh?
You like that little intercooler sitting up there on the top?
I know it's a turbo.
Yep, that's the intercooler for the turbo. Probably use way too much. Let's put a big glob right there.
You definitely needed brakes in the back, huh?
Oh yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Hey, I got freaking anti-seize all over me again.
Oh, that must take hours. Yeah.
Oh, it wipes off.
Oh.
The only problem is that it also normally wipes off on everything you touch.
Yeah.
All right, one more pin. A little rust in the top of but the pin itself is good. Yeah, I watched Mohawk Auto come earlier and take her truck. There's a flat tire in the front.
Oh, the SUV?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Apparently Jessica hit a curb with it.
my Highlander, 3 months old, got a dent in it. It ain't new no more.
You know, there's a little tiny cap right here. We'll put a little bit of grease inside the cap.
Nah, leave it on here. I'll get balls for cops.
Yeah, if you guys like that one, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And most importantly, remember, you've got no more excuses. Pick up those wrenches. Oops.
And then now he does that and he gets.
You know, if you guys like that one, please feel free to like, comment,